Yo, what's up, guys? And people, should I say? Um, nearly dying at the start of the stream. That's great. It's always a very positive start. How you guys doing? We'll give it a couple minutes, see if we can get some more people to roll in. But yeah, we'll give it about we'll give it to 45. Just gotta pray no one else streams at this time, but no one's got a divine right to a time slot. Just see if there's anything interesting I can bring you guys right now. Jeez, political exit, 20k subs, crazy. Is it announcing a live show? Sounds dope, to be fair. Don't know if I'd ever do that, you know. Nah, it's injustice, but there are no gods among us. Would I ever do a live show? That's really interesting, actually. Thing is, I can't play gifts if I do a live show, so I don't know. That sounds terrifying, to be honest. Yeah, chill. He's in the stream, to be fair. Oh, not in the stream, but he's gonna be. We're gonna discuss him in a second. To be honest with you, I'm just waiting to see if we can get some more people roll in. I'm just wondering, is anyone streaming now? All these tabs and no one to show. Doesn't look like it. Excuse me. Apart from 1,000 videos, that would get me copyrighted instantly. And my computer chugging. Steve Reed gets roasted by Kay Burley. Mad thing. Oh. Not much interesting going on. Apart from a lot of Black Ops Cold War content. Oh, do you know what? I wanted another clip from Black Ops. See if I can find it. Might be one of my favorite characters. Oh jeez, no, not that one. I don't want to play it in case something bad happens. Let's see, what's this one about? Nah, I don't trust that one. But yeah, no, I've got this one, to be fair, of the handsome man himself. Where is it? The hell? This one? Bear with, guys. I'm just having a bit of a nightmare here.
We don't just sit back and hope for the best. We'll make the best happen.
Oh yeah, I love that one. That's one of my favourite quotes all time. Hope you guys actually managed to hear it. He's here. He's gonna be in. He's gonna get a mention. Just waiting to see if we can get anyone else. Desperate for the views, I am. Bro's dying out here. Need attention. Let's see. Griffith. Andrew Griffith. Who the hell is that? Forgot Comcast bought Sky. It's a bit strange. Oh, hello. Some video about the armed forces. Not the armed forces, even the monarchy. For the royal. We'll watch that. We'll watch that at the end. Hopefully, Channel 4 don't kill me. Yeah, we got a new leader of the Tory party, so that's gonna be fun. Can be the worst takes ever. Chatting about her today, to be fair, saying like, you know, she said if you wanna what do you call it? If you want to cut, if you want, she's talking about cutting maternity pay in order to get more to get more people having kids, and you're just like, what? So yeah, she's got the worst takes ever. All right, cool. Let's get started, anyways. Let's see if more people join. They join on it. Don't want to keep you guys waiting forever for me to actually start. So, what I want to discuss, we're going to start with this clip here.
2010. Excuse in 2020. Now,
make sure the audio is good so you guys can hear it.
we didn't officially have austerity in 2020, but when Sunak became Chancellor, we were about to if it weren't for COVID. He had told government departments to prepare for cuts to their department. That's austerity.
All right, so I want you guys to remember this, right? Cuts to government departments, that's austerity.
Departments to prepare for cuts to their department. That's austerity. This was what would have been his excuse then. There was no excuse. He just wanted to do it. He still wants to do it. He's just going to use a different excuse now. It's nothing to do with the black hole that Truss punched into the country's finances. Even the Financial Times is writing today, there is no black hole in the budget. Doesn't actually exist. The black hole, they write, is in the market's confidence in the government. Because the budget, how the budget looks, how that whole reason.
So we're going to play this again for you guys. I want you to understand what he's saying here. Budget cuts equal austerity. That is what he's saying here. A definitive statement.
There's always excuses. There were excuses in 2010. Excuse in 2020. Now, we didn't officially have austerity in 2020, but when Sunak became Chancellor, we were about to if it weren't for COVID. He had told government departments to prepare for cuts to their department. That's austerity. This was what would have been his excuse then. There was no excuse. He just wanted to do it. He still wants to do it. He's just going to use a different excuse now. It's nothing to do with the black hole that Truss punched into the country's finances. Even the Financial Times is right to prepare for cuts to their department. That's austerity. Didn't officially.
So that's austerity, guys. Just got to reply to someone quick. So, budget cuts equal austerity. I want you guys in the chat to acknowledge this, okay? That's what he said. Very definitive statement. I played out more of what he said there because you can't claim I'm taking him out of context, okay? And I've done that for a very specific reason. So, if anyone's going to argue I've taken him out of context, don't even bother. Because if you are going to try and argue that, tell me what the context is. Because he's saying the black hole is the lack of confidence in the market. There's no excuse to do this, etc. Right? That's what he's saying here. So, when you go to the budget, a few departments will receive real terms inflation-adjusted decreases in their spending limits between 23, 24, 25. That to me sounds like budget cuts. And if I look at an article that Grace Blakely wrote for the oh no, where is it? This in this article, won't I find it? Oh, guys, I've fumbled this really hard. Jesus, is this the article? Yeah, this should be it. There's a bit where she mentions. There's a bit where she mentions departments. Oh, I'm so annoyed. Where is it? I had it. I don't know if. Here it is. Real spending in other departments will fall by just over 1% per year. So the increases in health and local government, in particular, do not go far enough to offset the impact of 14 years of austerity. And once protected departments are removed from the equation, real spending in other departments will fall by just over 1%. So we can see from this that some departments are looking at budget cuts. Now, based on what Phil said, that's austerity, right? Now, interestingly, actually, Grace Blakely argues that what we're seeing here isn't austerity. She goes, such a strategy, talking about Rachel Reeves here, won't necessarily raise living standards, nor can it be described as austerity. Instead, Reeves' philosophy can be best described as a kind of neoliberal developmentalism, public-private partnerships in pursuit of economic growth, or in simpler terms, socialism for the rich, ruthless competition for everyone else. Which, to an extent, I agree with. The only thing I would say is I disagree with her analysis. I think you could call this an austerity budget, depending on what your definitions are. So her definition, she talks about austerity means net cuts to government spending, which isn't what's happened here. It's very important to remember that a government can do very regressive things without implementing austerity, as I explained here. She mentions one of the reasons I wrote Vulture Capitalism was to push beyond the idea that austerity is the worst sin a government can commit. I don't... it's the cuts to government spending, right? So net cuts to government spending. So when we look at government expenditure, and I do show this graph to you guys fairly often, which is that some years we had increased budgets and some years we didn't. I mean, negative inflation adjustment. I think the problem is I haven't found government spending in real terms. That's one of the things. So you could make the argument that it's fallen, but then you'd have to. I mean, at some point you're gonna have to make the argument of what year does austerity end? Because based on what Phil's saying, like Rishi Sunak was gonna come in and do budget cuts, right? And so that would have been austerity. But when we look at, so is it based on government department spending? Is it based on total government spend? What are they basing on? Their metrics seem off. Even here, her metric seems off. It's like I'm not trying to say she's pushing kind of an agenda here by saying this isn't austerity, because she mentions in that tweet that austerity isn't the worst sin a government can do, and she's trying to claim it's something else what Labour are doing. But from what I'm seeing, you could class this as an austerity budget depending on definition. And I'll talk about my kind of definition in a little bit in a few minutes, but I think, in my opinion, I don't think either of them hit the mark, to be honest. I mean, I would say that I'm not going to say I'm going to cook both of them, because I'd wager in a debate I'm not beating her anytime soon. But when you look at some of the stuff the Labour Party are pushing with, I saw Phil's defence of the policies around the disabled, saying, well, these are Tory policies that Reeves isn't getting rid of, so blame the Conservatives. That's one of the most idiotic takes I've ever seen. Absolute idiocy. Like, what was the point of voting for Labour then if they're just going to keep Tory policies? Like, what's with... Okay, cool. I thought I was having audio issues. For me, like, this is what it's all about: attacking the most vulnerable in society. This is what the Tories did the worst. You're talking about 300,000 deaths linked to austerity. Disabled people have warned that the government's wicked decision to change the rules for out-of-work benefits will push them into poverty. Reeves confirmed at the budget Labour will press ahead with Conservative plans to limit access to sickness benefits in a bid to cut welfare spending. Welfare experts say the changes could mean more than 450,000 disabled and chronically ill people lose more than £400 a month in benefits. The DWP plans to tighten the work capability assessments, which determine someone's ability to access universal credit. This, to me, is what it's about. We're talking like the fact that they're increasing benefits just in line with inflation, despite the fact that people on welfare have had massive cuts under the Tory years. It's just not on for me. This from John McDonald, saying that varying statements about whether the government is going ahead with the Tories' work capability assessment changes is causing so much anxiety amongst disabled people that I'm urging ministers to confirm the Tories' plans and cuts are dropped immediately. And we know they're not. Political X talks about social Darwinism. I think that's what we're kind of seeing a little bit of. And for me, it's about this. This is what austerity is really about. Difficult economic conditions created by government measures to reduce public expenditure, which is literally what Rachel Reeves is doing. They're keeping the Tories' definition on changes to disability benefits, to reduce public expenditure. It's not about a net reduction. This, in my opinion, this definition 2 is my definition for austerity. Difficult economic conditions. What can we describe as more difficult economic conditions than people losing money? Essentially people being pushed into poverty, or people being pushed further into poverty. What more difficult economic conditions can you make beyond just taking everything from them? So for me, like the argument around departmental spending, the argument around total expenditure, I just, unless you want to argue like unless this idea that because Labour are increasing public sector wages by above inflation, like the people have changed the definition, their definitions of austerity so much, in order to back Labour. And I could talk about the geezer more if I wanted to, but I think I've cooked him enough for today. Anyways, like if I really wanted to, like if I wanted to absolutely just send these guys to the Shadow Realm, it's not hard. When I've got the essentially the video, really the best one, which if you guys haven't seen it, you should. This one here, probably one of my best videos that I've released, because I miss doing video essays. I really do. I just don't have time anymore. I miss it so much. Like it gave me so much purpose, because that's content no one else can do. This kind of content, anyone can really do it. In my opinion, like anyone can just react to stuff, but writing good essay content, it's just really hard to do. Really coherent. I had so much help to do the video, as well. It was great. Why is YouTube search function not working? Let me see if I can find it just on YouTube. Bear with me, guys. This is one of the videos I'm most proud of. Genuinely, just trying to find it. So I keep reading my streams by going on tangents. Let's see if we can find it like this. Yeah, this one. These ones here. These two really. These two. What's this one about? What do I do with this one? So in this segment, Jesus, we're going to be discussing, I think, some of the commentary around the Labour Party. So we're going to be discussing, I think, certain members in the kind of YouTube space.
Election, or are some spending?
That Stan was not intending to proportional representation.
Can you show supporters? Massively. Yeah, that was it.
Unless you make special caveats for people who want to work in the care sector. And that's not so this one here, like, oh yeah, we got the Dante.
About repealing this act earlier this week.
There's the U-turn there.
This was, sorry guys, I'm kind of like bigging myself up a bit. But this was it here.
Is there a confusion among non-lawyers about the distinction between repeal and reform when we talk about bills like this and bills like this?
So this is what I miss doing, but if anyone wanted that treatment again, they can get it. So there's that. And when you talk about the hardest hit in sight, Labour quietly announcing that it will be cutting housing benefit in real terms by freezing the amount claimants can receive. That means rent will rise faster than housing benefit, especially when they're allowing housing associations to raise their rents even higher. I think above inflation. It's just crazy to me. Halloween was a bit nuts. Yeah, it was a bit. Housing benefit being frozen. I mean, this is already going to hurt people a lot. Someone pointing out that it doesn't cover the price of flats now. And is that correct? It's going to get even worse. So, like, are we saying this isn't austerity, or part of it? When it comes to investment, you're looking at Great British Energy will receive only £100 million in funding in the next 2 years, despite Labour promising to invest £8 billion by mid-2029. So either Labour are going to invest £8 billion in the last 3 years of Parliament, or Great British Energy is a fancy name and logo to go with nothing behind it. And the question is Labour going to just invest the £8 billion, or are we talking like, is it going to come from private investment as well? I don't know, guys. I did find this quite interesting as well. This post here about how Rees was left with 18 billion less headroom at the budget after an error at the OBR. And I'm thinking, how the hell are the OBR making an 18 billion pound budget? Crazy to me. It don't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me, like how they could have made such a huge error. But Bloomberg again doing really great work. So when it comes to austerity, and I'll do like obviously a segment on it. Like what do you? I'll poll you guys actually. I'll put a poll to you guys. Say let's see what the people think. Oh yeah, I'll drop a Jack Atlas in the chat. Just because
And by the way, guys, if you did want to donate to the stream and support it, you can do so via memberships or super chats, or you can join the Patreon. As I fumble to figure out where the poll button is. Is this it? No. Where is it? This? Ah, here it is. Start a poll. Alright. We'll let this one run for a bit. Let's go yes, no, simple answers. So yeah, let me know, is the budget an austerity one? So I'll leave that for you guys, and yeah, we'll work on that. Let's see. Did you see LBC call it talking about? Yeah, I did see some. Yeah, I'm gonna discuss that. It's gonna be at the end of the stream. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, we got some more. I wanted to cover this last week, but I ran out of time because Max Holloway was fighting. So this is about West Street getting called out on some of this stuff around private healthcare.
If you say that you're not interested in privatisation of the NHS, could you please explain then since 2015, when you entered Parliament, there's been more than 60% of the money that's been donated to you has come from companies and individuals with links to private healthcare. Now, as a nurse, Wes, I'm only allowed to accept trivial gifts from patients such as chocolates, okay? Because it could be seen as a conflict of interest. Can you tell the listeners what your donors are receiving in return for their donations and how the public can believe you that this is not a conflict of interest?
Well, let's
so I'd say two things. The third thing I just want to say is on Tracy's point about political donations. I mean, firstly, the people who've donated to me, I mean, there's been such a stretch with some of the, I think, deliberate misrepresentation we see online between people who've donated.
Do you know what would stop the misrepresentation? Stop taking the money.
To me and links to the private sector, for example.
Oh, mate, Kieran, I'm telling you now, when I saw the maternity pay thing, I'm like, she's not ready. She's not ready for the starlight. She said she's not sure if she even wants to be Prime Minister because of her lifestyle changes. And she didn't want to commit to an answer.
One of the people who've donated to me in opposition to fund staff in my office was involved in a recruitment company. Now, that recruitment company, according to people who've kind of dug into it, does some health recruitment. I think that's such a tangential link, but you would think reading some of the things, and actually to be...
Not really, is that a tangential link? Like, they make money. Part of their business model is making money through essentially hiring, agency staff for the NHS. So, it's in their interest for you to kind of, not pay NHS staff enough, so then the NHS is still reliant on agency staff, or not filling up enough job roles, so the NHS is still reliant on agency staff. So, again, it's not really that much of a leap, is it?
Listening to Tracy, you'd think that I was taking loads of donations from Bupa, and I think that is willful misrepresentation. And the final thing I'd say on political donations, as there's obviously been a lot on this in recent months, those newsletters that come through your door, the staff that work for political parties doing campaigning, the election campaigns that you've been subjected to quite a lot over the last 9 years, they all have to be paid for. Now, we could take the approach that other countries do of having state-funded political parties. So we...
The correct approach, yes. We could do the correct thing.
We'll pay a levy or we pay through our taxes for political parties. I don't think... and listeners might correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think people want to see their taxes used to fund politics.
I don't think people want their taxes to be paying you power, to be honest with you, but here we are. I don't think people want their taxes to go to a lot of different things. Yet here we are.
Therefore, we do have to...
Give them the option then. Give them the option. Put it at a referendum then. See if the public are okay with it.
See? What did you want to ask, Wes Streeting?
Wes, hi. I'm sure you're aware of a paper from The Lancet by Benjamin Goodhair, challenges justifications for healthcare privatisation and concludes that scientific support for healthcare privatisation is weak. Overall, hospital privatisation may reduce cost, but it does so at the expense of quality of care. So my question to you, Wes, is when NHS services are privatised...
How much would publicly funded elections even cost, to fund the parties? I really wish he lost his seat.
What is the benefit to the patients and the communities? And could you give me examples of where privatisation of previously publicly owned services has been a success?
I'm not interested in privatising the NHS. In fact, I've said many times now, we'll privatise the NHS over my dead body. So we will, as a point of pragmatism, use the private sector to bring down NHS waiting lists. That is not the same as privatising the NHS.
I mean, you're giving public money to a private company instead of giving to the NHS, which could probably deal with the problem. I would argue that probably is privatisation.
So when you say, and you've said it many times before, free at the point of use, your intention is to keep the NHS free at the point of use for individuals whenever they need it.
Yeah.
That isn't the same. I mean, it's a laudable ambition, and
no, that is privatisation though. Still, like, if you were to make that argument, you'd have to argue that there wasn't really any privatisation under the Tories, because under the Tories, the NHS is still free at the point of use as long as you're not doing dental or eye care. I wonder if Labour will bring back the NHS IT procurement companies. When it was cut under Cameron, PC went from 150 plus 16 for software to £400 plus £100 for software. I mean, that's a joke.
And I'm sure most people support it. But it isn't the same as saying there won't be further privatisation of the NHS, is it? Services being privatised, tendered out to private companies. Those two statements aren't quite the same thing.
No, I mean, that's why I always say I want an NHS as a public service, publicly funded, free at the point of use. And those three bits are important.
But with the public elements around the edges.
Public service, publicly funded. I would prefer those public services.
I jump on stream.
You see?
I should be back now.
I would prefer to deal with the...
No, I don't get it. Like, what's my... Is it... No, it's not even system issues.
NHS as it is, not as I would wish it to be.
It should be fine now. Just hit F5.
Does that reassure at all, Tracy?
Pardon, does that reassure me? No, not at all.
Yeah, just cut out for a second. Strange.
Because there is already privatisation within the NHS. There are many services within the NHS that have been outsourced to private companies, and Wes has put no proposals forward on how he proposes to reverse that.
I mean, they've talked about insourcing a lot, but we've not heard much more about it.
Currently, we have £10 million per week since 2012 going out to the profits of private companies. So, Wes, you can't sit there and tell me that your plans are, to keep a publicly funded NHS when they are sucking.
So, again, he gets cooked pretty badly there. See, this guy here, yeah. Can someone explain who this brother is? Can someone explain, like, what's the, let's Google him, because this guy drives me nuts. He's the worst. He's worse than Nick Ferrari. He's the worst guy in LBC. I'm convinced, right? I'm convinced, yeah. He has bad takes. He gets rage bait. So what he does is he says the dumbest things, right, to make you angry. Ali Mirage. Okay, let's see who this guy is, because this geezer, the worst takes, man. The worst takes. He opposes radicalism, supports free speech. I mean, okay. Did he go to a private school? Oh my god, he did. That's a private school, a public school. Oh, he went to Haberdashers. That's a private school. Oh, now it all makes sense. He attended a course at Point Blank DJ school in Hoxton. Has worked as a part-time DJ. Why the hell have they got a DJ doing news? Oh my god, this is embarrassing. Under current rules, NHS has to outsource. This guy, I'm telling you, yeah. I'm telling you now, this guy's an idiot. He was the candidate for Everton. Only ethnic minority. He ran as an independent. He got a lot of votes, to be fair. Shortlist for Wellingborough. Shortlist for who though? For the who's he running for? I don't get it. Oh, let's go, fam. The Scots cooking him. Let's go. You love to see it, fam. You love to see it. This guy, yeah, is honestly, yeah, the most brain dead guy. Honest, like, is it bad? Am I bullying him at this point?
Stings, doesn't it?
Because he has the worst takes. He has the worst takes. You know, let's follow on Twitter so I'll get more clips. Let's do that. Let's get more clips of this guy.
Wes Streeting quite rightly has talked about community-based provision of healthcare. What on earth do you...
Gotta go. Dispatch on C4 showing how the... Yes, I'm going to discuss that at the end of the stream, but yes. Watch it, yeah. If you want to go watch that, I'll respect that.
think he's been smoking? And I thought they were banning smoking initially in pubs, which they've abandoned now. They're thinking about it outside hospitals.
So funny.
What do you think he's been smoking with Rachel Reeves when on the one hand they're giving 22.6 billion to the NHS in additional funding, but they're imposing an increase in employers' NI that's going to affect companies like yours?
I mean, it's an absolute nonsense of a budget. It's quite clearly there is absolutely no business sense being applied.
Where do you think, like, fair enough, right? The employers' national insurance increase, right? I don't fully agree with that. I don't think it's the best idea, right? But okay, where do you think these businesses don't benefit from the NHS? Do you think they don't benefit from a fit and healthy workforce? Do you think they don't benefit from people not having to feel anxiety about having to pay for their health? If they can't get looked after. Do you know how much productivity would lose without the NHS? In America, companies pay for private healthcare. That eats into their amounts of profit they can make. This guy, complete melonhead. Honestly, yeah, like, it's not even a joke because he's bold. He's just a complete melonhead.
Whatsoever to the budget, they're not joining up the dots. They're giving the rhetoric that the community wants to hear, but in practice, it's going to do the absolute opposite.
Dear, oh dear. Best your thoughts with your team as well on navigating it. Lucy, thank you for your call.
Ali Mirage gets shouted at. It's on YouTube. If it's on YouTube, we're going to have a look. This guy, completely moronic. Oh, let's go. It's on YouTube. Let's go. All right. Let's see if we can find it. Ali Mirage gets shouted at. Let's go. Oh, there's a compilation. Okay. Do you know what? Should we watch it? Fuck it, we'll watch it. Fuck it, watch it.
Afternoon, Mr. Mirage.
Do you know what? We're gonna make this a segment. We're gonna when is this? How old is this? 2 weeks ago. Let's go. 2 weeks ago, right? All right, cool. I'm gonna kick this. I'm gonna speed it up a little bit. Just so I don't have to listen to this geezer. Okay.
Really got me riled up.
Oh dear. Go on, Paul. Why?
It's not a futile effort for independence. I wasn't going to vote for independence if there ever is a vote. But now, after your comments, I will.
Oh, why? Why?
I remember this. Yeah.
Why have what I've said?
We're not a futile nation. We're not an imbecilic nation, which is what your comments.
I never said you were imbecilic.
Well,
I said the cause was
Jesus. We are so close to 6,700 subs, as well. I was just looking at it today, and I'm 11 subscribers off from 8,700. It's crazy. Now I kind of wished I'd hit 9k subs this year, and I could do a video special for it, but. I'll tell you what, early next year, hopefully we'll hit 9k. It's madness.
You said going after the futile cause.
Yeah.
We don't see it as futile. We definitely don't see it as futile.
Well, you might not, but you didn't win, did you?
Yeah, so what? Oh, you didn't win. Oh, you lost a close referendum. Oh, bunch of losers. What the f is this?
We lost by 5%.
Right.
And the vote is a lot closer.
Especially when you look at the fact that the unionists lied as well, because they said, do it to keep our place in the EU. And then we left the EU. Like, if they did the Scottish referendum after the Brexit one, guarantee they would have won that one. That's an easy dub.
To now.
Yeah.
And you're saying that it's nowhere. Just because we voted Labour in at the last general election, that was purely to get the Tories out.
Right. So there's a hierarchy of priorities for the Scottish people, and getting the Tories out was number one. Where does independence rank?
I would say independence is next.
Really?
For the majority.
Well, I tell you, a lot of the Scots I speak to would actually rather the SNP domestically focus on getting on with the job.
Yeah, but you're a Conservative and you probably don't speak
to...
No,
I'm not a Conservative. I'm just telling you what I hear from people who actually feel that this is not...
Did you not stand as a Conservative candidate?
Yes, but I'm not a spokesman for the Conservative Party.
Yeah, but you are a Conservative, and Scottish Conservative...
Saucy Conservative?
don't want independence.
No, but hang on a second. I said that if you want to stay, that's fine by me. But if you want to have a referendum, I want two things, right? One is I want to have a vote in that referendum myself.
Why the hell would you? Why would you get a vote, pal? Did the rest of the EU get a vote in the UK's Brexit referendum? No.
I don't see why I should be giving you a bunch of cash to the tune of £41 million a year, 41 billion.
What?
Rather a year. And secondly,
what are you talking about, blood? That's been debunked by like Richard Wolff and other people. Like you can't. The metrics we're using now are completely flawed because it's taking things into account like North Sea oil and actual exports from Scotland to the rest of the world. Now, by the rest of the world, I don't mean outside of the EU. I mean the EU and the rest of the world. This man, he's not a clown. He's the entire circus.
It really gets up my nose. Hold on a second, Paul. It really gets up my nose that MPs.
I think there's other stuff getting up your nose, pal.
Scotland can vote on issues that affect England when you've got your devolved parliament. How about that?
Well, get an English parliament then. That's what people wanted. They wanted an English like assembly to deal with issues specifically for England. We never got that. Everyone else got it. Scotland got their representation. Wales got theirs. Northern Ireland got theirs. England never got it. So you shouldn't be mad at Scottish people. You should be mad at Westminster. You absolute moron. Oh, this guy's going to push my blood pressure up. This is going to be painful. Why would you recommend me watch this, Kieran, on stream?
MP do not vote on issues regarding England.
Well, MPs in Scotland can, and that gets up my nose.
Yeah, that is...
Okay, and MPs in England can decide certain things in Scotland. So what's your point, geezer?
Conservative MPs, I think it was 5 before the last election.
Well, you've got a lot of Labour MPs too now.
Yeah, you've now got Labour MPs who would vote, but when it was 54 SNP MPs, they did not once vote on matters relating only to England.
What is your primary driver for independence, other than the fact that I've annoyed you?
I want independence because I want to see Scotland ruled by parties that Scottish people vote for.
Okay, so what do you want?
Okay,
what do you want that you don't have already, Paul? I'm trying to get down to brass tacks. What is it that you're so desperate for that you don't have now?
We want our own independence. We want our own identity back.
Oh, that's like saying we wanted global Britain. That hasn't exactly turned out well from Brexit, right?
It's really not. Having independence is not the same as a global Britain. Like, no, having independence means making your own decisions for yourselves by elected representatives in that country. Like, there's nothing wrong with national self-determination. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. This is a moronic comparison.
Right, so what do you actually want that you don't have?
I didn't vote for Brexit.
Okay, well, I'm just making a point. Just making a point. What do you want that you practically don't have today, Paul? That's my question.
There you go, an actual sensible question.
At the minute, we don't have total control over all the issues in Scotland. We don't have tax rights. We can't raise taxes independently. We can't raise...
Wait, I thought the SNP have raised certain taxes in Scotland. That's not 100% true, is it, what you said there?
Enough money to do what they really want to do themselves. And what they are doing, what little money we do get, we have free further education.
Yeah.
Which you don't have in England.
Yeah, exactly, which really upsets a lot of people in England, I can tell you.
And we can do that with our budget without going into deficit. And what you were saying about the Barnett formula, at the present time, Scotland contributes more back.
Look out for your jobs up in Scotland too, by the way.
Yeah.
Do you think the world's going to stop using oil? You realise oil is used a lot more than just for fuel, right? They use it for plastics and other things. So again, there will be a transition away from oil, yes, away from fuel. No one mentioned the tabs. We're not allowed to talk about the tabs. Buffering is back. Sorry, guys, I don't know. I'll reset the router more. I'll reset the router before the stream next week if I remember, because I don't know what's going on with it. It should be fine. Like if I do an internet speed test, right, guarantee you it's not going to be okay. Maybe it's just this time of day. I need to contact my provider. Whoa, what is going on here? I'll try and contact my provider and ask. Yeah, I mean my speed's crazy fast. Like we're hitting 100 plus, near the 200 mark. As far as for download, that's what the upload is. The upload's 180 plus. What's the pings? Ping's probably going to be below 30. Ping's 13. Latency 13. Doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I don't know if it's an OBS issue or if it's a YouTube issue. It's got a thing next to it. What's that? It says excellent condition.
The government might be moving away from oil. The rest of the world isn't yet.
I don't know if I can watch all of this. Is this the same
interesting,
dude?
Paul. So your argument basically is this: that you want an independent Scotland so you can manage your own money and your own affairs. Sounds very sensible. That's exactly what the Brexiteers voted for to leave.
But we had control of our own affairs before Brexit. This guy, the straw man maker.
EU hasn't exactly turned out to be a roaring success.
Oh,
We shall
yeah,
see.
The Brexiteers weren't exactly the most brilliant of people, were they?
Well, that's true, but then you could say the same thing about Nicola Sturgeon, who's been currently under a police investigation, couldn't you?
Yeah, her husband is, and she, at the minute, she's under a formal investigation, but no charges as yet.
Indeed, I'm not saying that. I'm not implying there are any charges. Of course not. But what I'm saying is that those people who actually thought that were lauding the SNP leadership, I mean, it's rather fallen from grace. Come on, you've got to accept that.
Yeah, but like the SNP aren't just the only party for Scottish independence. And again, you picked out two people out of a party.
Name me one political party that hasn't had a disgraced leader.
Touche.
Tony Blair.
So I've got a question for you, Ali. Would you like to live next to your next door neighbour and give 100% of your wages to them
slows down.
and only receive 37% back?
You don't get 37% back. You get a
lot
lot more than that, Rachel.
But
that's a load of nonsense, I'm afraid.
Listen,
it's incorrect.
kilometre would get the least amount of money in the
Yeah, but
entire of the
37%,
UK.
Rachel, is incorrect.
I've not finished my question. I've not finished my question.
Yeah, but okay.
I mean, what's the correct figure? If you know it's not 37%, what's the correct figure, big man?
The next door neighbour, you live next to this next door neighbour.
Yeah.
Not only that, they've got the ability to print money, to have debt, to generate more money, and have a stock market, which is all being deprived from Scotland. And you, as the next door neighbour, would you be happy in that situation? Would you see yourself as in a union of equals? Because this is what it boils down to, that constitutional thing of the United Kingdoms, which your first caller got wrong. It's not the United Kingdom. It is the United Kingdoms.
Yes.
That's very important.
Well,
and
it's
I'll tell you another
Kingdom.
thing.
It's Kingdom, actually, not Doms.
Kingdoms. No, it isn't. There's many parchment papers written. It was the United Kingdoms.
Okay, but can we...
I mean, this is the most pedantic thing I've seen.
Okay, Rachel, before you go on, can we...
You really should have.
37% thing, because it's just wrong. I mean, what you're saying is you get 37%.
Tell that to the Welsh and the Northern Irish people. We do understand the Barnett formula.
Yes, I do.
We understand the Barnett
but Rachel, let's...
Kieran, I can't lie, yeah. I can't lie, yeah. This is pretty painful. We'll leave it at that. I'm not going to discuss this guy. I can only handle about a few minutes with listening to that geezer, because honestly, yeah, he's an idiot. Like he should. If I was his dad, if his dad was still, I don't know if his dad's alive or not. If he isn't, then fair enough. But I'd be asking for a refund from that private school because they did not educate him well. He should have stuck with it being a DJ. Because damn, he's stupid. Alright, so let's discuss this around Labour and private water bills.
You'll want to hear this one. Off the record meetings?
Please have non-copyright music. Check.
Check. Billions of pounds in profit? Check. Rivers still full of shit? Check. We've discovered that over the past few months, Environment Secretary Steve Reid has held a series of meetings with water company bosses. And nobody's taking minutes. So nobody knows what they were talking about.
That's a big problem. That should be made illegal. The other thing is he has taken donations and tickets from companies related, I think, to the water industry. And further to this, they have used analysis from the water companies about why they shouldn't be nationalised. So we know where Labour kind of stand on that.
I want to thank the water companies for working with me.
Before the election, Labour talked pretty tough about...
the water companies shouldn't really be working directly with government. They should be working with the regulator, but really should be the regulator telling them what to do, such as cleaning up this.
Cleaning up the Tory sewage scandal. After the election, well, not so much. Kind of stinks, doesn't it? Almost as bad as the state of our waters. Instead of cleaning up the Tory sewage scandal, Labour is using the same old failed playbook, ruling out nationalisation and watering down tougher proposals for regulations.
This is the change that the country voted for.
When Labour talks to big businesses, we need to know what they're saying.
It's not just big ones, all of them. Whoever, any private interest we should know about, big, small, it doesn't matter.
We need to know they're working for us and not big shareholders. Am I right? Let me know in the comments.
Yeah, she's right. This is interesting. The Good Law Project are doing this kind of TikTok style content. It's good stuff. It's well produced. Water is an essential service. Yeah, I mean in Scotland it's nationalised. I think in other countries it's nationalised. In some countries it's free. So yeah, it's ridiculous. The system we have is not even a capitalist system. It protects. It's a monopolistic system. That's what we have. That's one of the reasons it's so bad, because they have a monopoly. How are they doing bad if you have a monopoly? It don't make sense.
I deal with folks.
Okay, this is Farage. Talking about why he doesn't want to do face-to-face meetings with people. Now, I want you guys to remember, some of these people, I think people like Nigel, I think they're telling people to stop working from home, right? Despite there being coronavirus, and now he's saying he's scared to do hustings with people.
Phone calls with
face-to-face surgeries.
No, I deal with them every day. Zoom.
That's not a face-to-face surgery, then.
No.
Is it?
Do you want me to be knifed?
No.
There you
obviously not. I've had a lot of people messaging in this morning asking how many constituency surgeries you've held since becoming an MP.
Lots. In fact, we had one yesterday. We're trying to help pensioners who could qualify for pension credit get through the 243 questions needed. So plenty. If you're asking me, have I done David Amess style, please everyone come in and
All right, see, that's a big sure, because he's the only MP I think that's ever been, or not ever, but he's the only high-profile case of it. I think the only other one, she was attacked in the street.
Bring whatever you want with you, no. But am I speaking to people every single day? Yes, I'm trying. In fact, yesterday I was on the phone at length. I'm offering to pay insurance so that a Remembrance Sunday parade can take place in Wilton. Yeah, I'm busy.
But just to be clear, when you say lots, how many is lots?
I deal with emails, I deal with phone calls, with constituents.
Face-to-face surgeries?
No, I deal with them every day. Zoom.
That's not a face-to-face surgery.
Oh, this repeat. I hate when they do repeat clips like this. Drives me nuts. I did want to talk about generic, essentially, getting community noted here. Well, he's not being community noted. He's trying to claim the government are hiding things from the public regarding the murder in Stockport. They have the one who sparked the riots. They have private ownership on a natural monopoly, and they're still making losses. Yeah.
As the dad of 3 daughters, the Southport attack hit me personally. Of course, the legal process needs to be respected, but I'm seriously concerned that the facts may have been withheld from the public here. The government and authorities told us for months that they were not treating this as a terrorist incident. But today, the attacker has been charged with terrorist offences, and it has been revealed that he has been allegedly reading terrorist manuals. This atrocity was of immense public concern. The public had the right to know the truth right away. Any suggestion of a cover-up will
There's not been a suggestion of a cover-up. Even the CPS have called him out.
Permanently damage trust in whether we are being told.
No one can even hear me anyways. Great stuff. Okay, I think we're back up. Yeah, we're back. Gone. Yeah, it just does it for a couple of seconds. It's kind of driving me crazy because it's just when I'm live streaming. I don't feel it when I'm playing online games or anything. I don't get what's going on. It's really annoying, to be honest with you. It's or maybe I have to contact my provider. I don't know. Maybe that's what I'm best off doing. Contact my provider and ask him what's going on, because I don't get it. Anyways, I was going to do. We'll cover Bad Notch at the end. We'll cover this now, which is about private schools.
And afford to send your child to a private school. Yeah. How would you describe those people that can't afford it? Skint, impoverished, broke, normal? What are they?
No.
If you're not
normal.
privileged, what are they?
They're normal people.
They're normal people. So you're not a normal person. You're not a normal person.
I am a normal
So you're the
person.
same. You're saying you're the same as someone who can't afford to send their kids to private school.
What I do is I prioritise my funds, and I know this is something.
What an insult! What an insult to everybody else who hasn't got enough funds to prioritise. It is.
Personally,
you're saying you manage your money better than other people.
Don't.
A lot of people don't do
Right.
that. It's what I'm saying.
Right, okay.
I do that.
So it's other people's fault. All right, Kat, I get it. You made your point clear that you manage your money better than everybody else, which is why you're normal and your kids have a privileged education. So the 93% of people listening whose kids get a state education, you've heard it from Kat, you misuse your money. You're bad parents. Can you appreciate?
Yeah, there you go. This is
some kids.
Former Education Minister.
This will impact capacity.
Give me credit, that lady.
And it will do it in an unplanned way. That's a disastrous thing for an education secretary to think is a good idea. So she doesn't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. But
What's going to happen is, yes, you will get more kids going into state schools. If as long as the schools have enough funding to deal with it, then there's no issue. Absolutely no issue.
What you do know is some kids will be moved. They'll be moved probably mid-year or at the end of the year.
Well, it'd be at the end of the year, especially given how early Labour announced it. If you haven't managed to get your finances in order to be able to pay for it, then you know your kid's going to a state education school.
Some children with special educational needs were very worried about large schools being bullied, being ostracised.
That, okay, you know, if you go to a private school for special educational needs, that's very different. That's a unique set of circumstances. But the kids going to places like Eton, I don't think they're going to be that concerned about that.
Isolated. And many times their parents, I've met many of those parents, they've really gone out of their way to save up to be able to give their kid that.
Do you think other people, if they wouldn't save if they could? Maybe if you guys hadn't cooked the economy so bad, maybe you could afford to send more kids to private schools.
There should be a level playing field. All children deserve a first-class education, and we've got to identify what that is and what the real problems are in the sector as well. But, you know, taking money from the private schools, which is not going to raise the money that they say it's going to raise, there's no way, because, you know, we've seen contrasting papers and research papers from the Adam Smith Institute, for example, the Taxpayers Alliance, that if
The
10%...
Taxpayers Alliance, aren't they a bunch of frauds? Aren't they backed by industry? The Taxpayers Alliance. Really, guys? Really, is that who you're citing here? According to this paper funded by the smoking tobacco companies, smoking isn't actually bad for you.
20% of children leave the independent school sector. The money that the Treasury hopes to raise will not happen. So we're going to be displacing at least 40,000 children, at least. And what about those poor children and their families for something that's not going to raise the money to help the sector?
I mean, it is. It might not raise as much as Labour intend for it to raise, but it will raise money. And you put that money into state schools.
You know, the state sector to help us all, to help all our children.
Do you worry that this will mean private schools become only for the very wealthy?
It literally is. It literally is for only the very wealthy, considering that 93% of people, who kids go to get state education, it is for the wealthy. If you can afford to save for your kid to go to private school, you are wealthy. You have enough money to do that. You know, unless you're skipping meals to send your kid to private school, even then, right? If you look at the fees on some of these schools, right, you're definitely not poor. You're definitely not poor. This is a joke.
This will happen. This will definitely happen. I mean, if you look at, for example, other things will happen. Social divide will increase as well. So the very...
Social divide will increase. No. Oh, no, more kids can't go to Eton. What a shame.
The schools that are large enough to survive this will become more elite. Children that come out will be fighting for places in top comprehensives. And if you take a look at the top 10 comprehensives in the country, taking out grammar schools and faith schools, the average house prices in those areas are 600 to 50,000 to £1 million.
Yeah, because they're in cities. That's probably why they're in cities. You know what's great and what Labour are actually going to do a bit more investment in? Public transport. You know, maybe you can take the money that you're saving from sending your kid to private school to get a bus ticket, or maybe you can drop them off at their school, depending on what your job situation's like. You can figure out, just like all the other parents do for state schools. And you don't have to send your kid to a top 10 school. You know what you can do, right? You can use the money you use to send your kid to private school to get a tutor for him. That would help him. There are lots of things you could do.
Plus, you know, the competition for grammar school.
Plus the fact that, in these private schools, they don't teach. All the kids that come out aren't clever. What they do is they get connections. Like, that's why that Ali Miraj guy, he's an idiot. He's an absolute idiot. Went to private school. Probably built good connections in that private school. That's how he managed to get his role at LBC, because the guy's a complete fraud.
where parents can afford to tutor their children through there will displace disadvantaged children. So there will be social divide and independent education will become more elite.
It's already very elite. It's not a problem if it becomes more elite at that point. I do want to discuss, there was a lot of talk about the pound falling and things like that. Seems like it's rebounded quite well. More good news for the Chancellor. It's lunchtime. Gilt yields are falling. So that's the interest paid on the bonds. Possibly in part down to those grim job numbers in the US, but they were drifting down beforehand. Sterling still holds on to its gains from this morning. So it looks like the economy is kind of balancing out. Not the economy, sorry, the market's kind of balancing out a little bit. So that's worth discussing. There are issues, though, still with Labour's plans. About 9 billion left that they're going to have to figure out where to get that from.
Markets take fright at budget spending plan. The Guardian. Reeves told she will have to raise a further £9 billion for public services. The three organs to which you subscribe, the budget's unravelling, isn't it, Mr Jones?
I don't think
well,
so.
Well, how on earth do you interpret those headlines, then?
Well, let's take them all in turn. So the Financial Times reports the market reacting to
Borrowing
the budget.
costs tick up as investors digest the budget. Go ahead.
Yep. It's a normal thing for markets to react to budgets. There's a lot
you
of new
told my
information
colleague Andrew Marr
presented.
earlier in the week that wouldn't happen. You told me that the markets would be... Well, you did. And we now have the pound the lowest against the dollar for 2 months.
Remind me of my quote to Andrew.
It will not be in Liz Truss territory, is exactly what you said.
We're not in that territory.
No,
we are absolutely not.
Oh, Jesus, he got cooked. Nick Ferrari getting cooked on his own show again.
Not in that territory,
But
are we?
why?
Nick?
What? No, we're not. But
No.
why have the markets taken the turn that they have?
I think there was some, I think it's down to just more bonds being in the market. Maybe that's why they've taken a tumble. I really don't understand how these financial institutions work. Most of the time. So, I think it's based on confidence. I did want to discuss this angle of it, which is Jonathan Reynolds admitting the budget may hit hiring and pay growth. Saying we accept that, he says, on the impact of employers' national insurance contribution hikes and minimum wage rises. So I think in combination together, it could be a big problem for small businesses. I think prices will go up because of it, and I think that's going to have a further knock-on effect on inflation. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I think Labour boxed themselves in really aggressively when they backed the national insurance cuts under the Tories. That was one of their major missteps, especially when people wanted. People didn't mind paying more tax as long as they got better public services, which is the thing people care about the most. Having adequate police and things like that.
It's not this is an exceptional budget to get our public finances back on a firm footing. I will not have to do anything like this ever again. It's not the summit of my ambition. This is our first budget, and we want to do more. That's why we've already started work on planning reforms, more to get people off of long-term sickness benefits and back into work. It's why we're reforming our pension system to unlock long-term capital to help small businesses and start-up and scale-up businesses to grow. So there's more to be done, and there's more plans that we're bringing forward to lift that growth rate. But I also say this, Asma, the OBR yesterday, for the first time, as well as those 5-year forecasts that you're looking at, looked at the implications for growth of the policies we announced in the budget. And that was really positive news. And they said over a longer time period, our investment, particularly in infrastructure, would boost growth by 1.4%, in addition to the numbers that you've just spoken about.
She said they were basically taught how to roll over the plebs. Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's a
feed is breaking up every couple of seconds. I'd just give up, honestly. I can't fix the mindset, guys.
To growth. I'm proud of that, and it shows that for the first time in a long time, we've got our government that is making the decisions in the long-term interests of the country, not just short-term gimmicks. But do we want to do more? Do we want faster and stronger growth? Absolutely, and we've got plans to deliver just that.
So not extending the freeze on tax thresholds beyond 2028, that sounds like good news. But I presume that you can't guarantee that you won't revisit that you might actually get to 2028 and say, actually, you know what, we are going to extend the freeze. Can you guarantee it?
I'm not going to be able to write future budgets, but look, this was an exceptional budget. This budget was to wipe the slate clean after the mismanagement and the cover-up of the previous government. I had to make big choices. I don't want to repeat a budget like this ever again, but it was necessary to get our public finances and our public services on a stable.
I mean, you kind of have them though, because there's still a £9 billion gap. I've managed to skip this clip.
Trajectory, but I'm not going to be coming back in the spring for more money. I've committed to only.
You've got a £9 billion issue.
Annual budgets rather than the twice yearly budgets we had from the previous government to give families and businesses certainty.
I think doing a biannual budget is better because I think things change. You don't want to do a once a year thing. What if there's a major event next spring? Why would you want to do a once a year thing? I think it should be every quarter we get announcements on things changing rather than once a year.
This was an exceptional budget at the beginning of the Parliament to wipe the slate clean.
Yeah, and
it hasn't though.
You said you're not going to be coming back in the spring with more tax rises, but you might be coming back this time next year with more tax rises.
As I say, this is an exceptional budget.
Exceptionally poor, I'd say. There's more here, Matlis and John Sopel.
Okay, let's be clear. You did raise national insurance tax. Leave aside what that does to your conscience on whether you've broken a pledge or not. Tax experts have told us this is one of the worst taxes to increase. On employers, it just discourages hiring, it encourages avoidance, it depresses longer-term wages. Why would you do that? Just to save an election promise, but to make a bad policy?
It's because they, like I said, they box themselves in.
Well, there were two choices on national insurance. Many people said, given that the previous government cut national insurance based on a false premise,
you voted for it. You literally backed it.
Premise being that the money was there, that what I should have done was just reverse that. I think that would have been the wrong choice, because if I had have done that, all of the burden would have been felt by working people. By choosing to levy...
What you're doing is basically making someone else pull the trigger.
The tax on employers, it's then up to employers to find ways to absorb however they can.
That's just disingenuous.
Well,
You will know what the OBR has said, that they've downgraded their forecast for household income because of what has happened to NICs on employers, because fundamentally it does impact people's incomes, and it's just naive to pretend it doesn't.
I'm not saying...
Okay, I want to hear from the 17 people who said it's not an austerity budget. Go.
That it doesn't, Emily, but what I am saying is that the choice was between increasing employee or employer national insurance.
You could have just raised...
The reason why she did employer is because it won't appear on people's payslips.
2p on the income tax altogether. You could have said, do you know
all
what?
Of that
would be a fair tax on everyone.
No, it wouldn't, because all of that burden would have been on working people. The way that I have structured it is that businesses will pay that tax.
It's increases that they won't see now in their pay packets.
And I accept that some of that burden will be felt on employees.
Okay, and who are these employees? They're working people. So effectively, you are admitting that this budget will impact working people. The only differentiation she's made is working people, as in people who, essentially earn a living, rather than those who make money from assets. That's the differentiating thing she's drawing.
If I had increased employee national insurance or income tax, all of the burden would have been felt by working people. And of course, as well as the national insurance changes that I made today, I also increased the employment allowance. So the smallest businesses, 1 million of them, would pay either no more national insurance or indeed less national insurance than they were previously.
Paul Johnson has said that is small beer.
Well, he doesn't run a business, but the Federation of Small Businesses represents thousands and thousands of small businesses, and they've welcomed this. In fact, it's something they've been calling for a long time, and it does mean that the smallest businesses, 1 million of them, will be paying less or no more national insurance.
But Chancellor, a friend of mine, he runs a business, employs 40 people, travel consultancy, and he says that the 40,000 extra in national insurance means there will be no annual bonus for the staff. Now that's obvious.
I think that's cap. I think they weren't going to do an annual bonus. Talking to my friend who owns a trucking company, the national insurance costs him more than 50k. It will cost them 50k or more. But what's the how many employees they got? What's their turnover? What's their profit like?
Directly affecting their incomes, because of what you've done on, employers' national insurance contributions?
Well, I faced a situation when I became Chancellor in July that there was this massive black hole in the public finances. And the first line of our first mission in our manifesto was to bring stability back to the economy. So I had to put our public finances on a firmer footing. It's not possible to do that without raising taxes in the circumstances that I inherited as Chancellor. I then had to choose how to go about doing that. And what I chose to do was to increase taxes on the wealthiest and on business. Others could make different choices, but I've done everything in my power to protect working people with the choices that I made today.
I don't think she has protected working people. I think she's. It's just where it's going to be felt. That's the difference. But look who they got discussing. Actually, I'll flip these around because it's the non-serious one. Yeah, this is what the OBR have to say on their channel.
Outlook. Against a largely unchanged economic and fiscal backdrop, today's budget delivers a large, sustained increase in spending, tax and borrowing, a temporary boost to the economy, and a new set of fiscal rules. Here are 5 things you need to know. The new government's budget increases spending by £70 billion per year over the next 5 years. 2/3 of this goes on day-to-day spending, while 1/3 goes on investment. This means the size of the state as a share of the economy now settles at 44% by the end of the decade, 5 percentage points higher than before the pandemic. Just over half of this is funded by an increase in taxes, which raise £36 billion a year in extra revenue, most of which comes from an increase in employer national insurance contributions. These and other tax changes take the overall tax burden to 38% of GDP by the end of the decade, its highest level on record.
So it's the, when Labour talked about the highest tax burden since World War II, they've got that now.
The other half of the increase in spending is funded through extra borrowing, which means that total government borrowing falls more slowly and is around 1% of GDP, or £32 billion higher a year over the forecast. The extra government borrowing delivers a temporary boost to the economy, with real GDP growth rising from 1.1% this year to 2% next year. But budget policies leave the link.
Now, I found this quite interesting.
2% next year.
So when you look at this, right, because of the way growth is measured, you look at 25, they're talking about 2%, and then 2026, 1.8, and then 1.5, 1.5 like that. And there's a drop off in terms of percentage. But obviously, if the economy is growing, it's always a good thing. But, when you talk about the fastest sustained growth in the G7, it's impossible because the way we measure, the way that GDP is measured is in percentage growth. So that's one of that's why it's a dumb metric.
But budget policies leave the level of output largely unchanged in the final year of our forecast. To make room for this extra borrowing, the government also sets itself 2 new fiscal rules over the next 5 years. The first one is to balance the current budget, or the difference between day-to-day spending and revenues, which it meets by a margin of £10 billion. The second one is to get its net financial liabilities, or the difference between its debts and its financial assets, falling as a share of GDP, which it meets by a margin of £16 billion. And you can find out more in our October 2024 Economic and Fiscal Outlook.
Hey, this is quite interesting. I think his delivery needs a bit of work. But, let's see who's going to judge the budget.
What do former Labour frontbencher Jonathan Ashworth and former Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng, famous for one of his budgets, what do they make of this one?
Can we get these 2 gone? Like, just genuinely, no more of this. No more. I've had enough. I've had enough of these 2. Right. Let's go with this, the order I want. Okay. So, Badenoch is the new leader of the Tory party.
It went to the point of what Kemi Badenoch has been arguing in this race.
Wait, you pronounce her name as Badenoch? I thought it was Badenoch. I'm so confused.
To tell the truth, she said. She is, if you like, the more authentic of candidates. She knows what she thinks. She says what she thinks. It seems that party members have taken the gamble that she will cut through and take the fight to Labour in a way that they perhaps thought Robert Jenrick...
you had a choice between a clown and an idiot, so...
might not. And you heard in that speech there, she said it's time to tell the truth, to acknowledge the mistakes, to stand up for conservative values, to renew and reinvent conservative party.
What's Giannis's definition of austerity?
Thinking not over just 5 years, but 10, 20. That was the kind of scope and scale of how Badenoch was putting it. But there is literally no policy on the bones, if you like. She has not run this as a campaign in which she's talked about policy decisions she would make. It's more been about values and her character and her pitch for leadership. It has won out. But when you drill down into this result, it's not entirely comfortable. For a start, there's far fewer members voting than they were back in 2022 when they were picking a Prime Minister. 90,000 votes cast against about 140,000 in the Truss-Sunak runoff, and 72% turnout. So that means about 90,000 eligible members voted. Kemi Badenoch came in with 53,000 votes. That was 57% of the vote against about 43 for Robert Jenrick. The sort of division that we saw with Truss and Sunak, so it wasn't an emphatic victory. And that 53,000 votes she won, it's less than what Rishi Sunak lost with in 2022 when he lost out to Liz Truss. And the reason I'm giving you all these numbers is because it tells a story of a Conservative Party that has not emphatically backed this leader. 130,000 members, she's picked up about 53,000 of them, and it's a parliamentary party divided as well, with many MPs not wanting this as the runoff anyway. They actually wanted a number of them, James Cleverly, as a more mainstream.
I think Cleverly. I think Tom Tugendhat would have been the best pick, honestly, but clearly they didn't agree with that
candidate. Instead, they ended with two on the right. So that's the kind of internal politics, but also taking it to the country. It is going to be quite a task for Kemi Badenoch rebuilding this party, although when you talked to MPs and Conservative Party members here, they are cheered on by the fallout of the Labour budget, and that one poll, only one poll, but it showed for the first time in 3 years that the Conservative Party had edged ahead of Labour. And then the other thing to say about it is there has been discussion already about whether Kemi Badenoch will really be the one that will lead the party into the next general election. That
I think it will have to, unless they do it in the next 2 years. I can't imagine they want to go through more endless leadership contests. I can't see it.
Has she got what it takes to carry the Conservative message to the wider country, or will she be someone that the Conservative Party like, but she doesn't rub along well with the wider public? It looks like the party, to try and kind of give her a bit more comfort in her position, have changed the rules in order that there's a higher threshold for how many MPs can issue a confidence vote.
Well, given they've got about 5 MPs, it'd make a lot of sense. She supports settlements, is that true? She's been an MP since 2017, she's completely experienced. Car crash. Well, to be fair, I mean, Starmer's only been an MP, since 2015, so he's not that much more experienced than her anyways. So I wouldn't really buy into that too much. The only thing I'd say is she's a clown. Like, she's not very bright, she's awful in interviews. I don't think she's going to do a good job as leader, to be honest with you, because I think to be the leader of a party, you have to be more of a people person, and I don't think she is.
It had been 15% of the parliamentary party, but when you've only got 121 MPs, well, that...
Yeah, I mean, he's not the clown, he's the entire circus as well.
Isn't a big cohort of people that could trigger a leadership ballot. GB News reporting that Bob Blackman, the chair of the 22, has been on that channel telling them that he's changed the rules, and now you need a third of MPs to trigger a confidence vote.
It's not a lot, to be honest with you. They've got, like, how many MPs do the Tories have? Like 100 something.
That's 40 MPs. So
oh, okay, fair enough. That's not a lot.
Kemi Badenoch could take some comfort in that. Look, the bigger picture here is they still have a mountain to climb. The worst parliamentary result in their history, just 100.
Tom Tugendhat supports settlements. Then, okay, I take it back. He's also a clown. He's also a clown.
21 MPs, Keir Starmer with a massive majority, but they think there's something to fight for. The Labour leadership is struggling at the moment. The budget has been controversial. And then that one poll lead. The question is whether Kemi Badenoch can put together a coalition of different bits of her party in that shadow cabinet.
I don't think she can. I don't think she can do it. You know, she barely won the leadership contest. In terms of like turnout, she didn't do great. Their membership's fallen by 112,000. Yeah, that's not great. I mean, it's great for the world, but not for them.
And take the fight to Labour. I think many Conservatives would privately say to all of us, it is a gamble. But in the end, it was this woman who has more cut through, if you like, that won out. And it is the first ever black woman to lead a major political party.
I'm going to say this as an Asian dude, right? I couldn't give a shit about her ethnicity. You know, when Sunak won and we became prime minister, I was like, that's cool. You know, we had a minority prime minister. What's he going to do? What's he going to do for the country? And he did bad. You know, he was awful as prime minister. I couldn't care that much about ethnicity. Gender's a bit of a different thing. But yeah, no, I don't care about someone's ethnicity when they be leader or run for any position, unless it makes them more qualified for a role. You know, if you're talking about someone who, I don't know, if you're talking about the Women's and Equalities Minister, it would make sense for that role to go to a woman, for example, because, you know, they'd be more in tune with, you know, issues that specifically affect women. That would make sense. But, you know, generally, I don't think it's that great idea. Or even if you talk about health ministers, you know, your situation where, you know, they're doctors and medical professionals who don't listen to women. So maybe if you get someone in there as minister can make changes to, you know, essentially the medical profession somehow in order to get that change, that'd be great. The OBR said the proportion of working age adults receiving incapacity benefits is at a post-financial crisis high of 7%. Yeah, that's down to, yeah, it's the quality of the person that matters. That's down to long COVID. It's down to people not being able to go to get routine healthcare and things like that. They'll be having leadership contests all the time. I can't wait for that, to be honest. So is this defined as the attempt to reduce the deficit by cutting spending and boosting taxes? So that is the technical definition for austerity as well, or that is a definition for austerity as well. And you can argue Labour have boosted taxes, but have Labour cut spending? In some areas yes, in some areas no. So it depends. Yep, Badenoch is the leader of their party. This I found insane. This lady again, the Seal lady, that's what we'll call her.
The thing with Kemi Badenoch is she's sort of almost difficult to get a handle on who she is, because she is described by, I mean, lots and lots of people as abrasive. She's described as very direct, almost described as rude by some people. And then you speak to other people who say she is extremely charming.
Charming, huh? Shrek is more charming than Kemi Badenoch.
And she's been kind of hosting these drinks parties in her office for years and years and years, which obviously is always seen as someone trying to run for leader.
I mean, she needs people to be drunk for them to see how charming and great she is. I don't know. If you need alcohol for that, then you're a bit lame.
And they're hosting these drinks parties and making these sort of introductions themselves. And apparently she can really hold that room. She sort of got this electric personality when she was trying to convince other MPs that she should go for leader. So there's that part of her, but then there is the rude part of her, and she's sort of seen as seeing things in black and white, wanting to answer questions. And one of the reasons, apparently, that she doesn't love doing interviews with journalists, we kind of mentioned.
It's because she's bad at them. She's awful at interviews. She's terrible.
Already, she hasn't done lots of interviews during this process.
Because she was up. That's why. She was up in the polls, so her doing interviews would be a bad idea, because it just gives her more opportunities to lose.
Doesn't seem to like journalists very much, I think it's fair to say.
So I put that to someone who works for her, and they said some of her best friends are journalists.
So who cares? Like, that's the I'm not racist, I have black friends argument.
So that'll show you. But
I hate to see her enemies.
Her enemies are people who are on maternity pay, evidently.
But she's sort of, yeah, she doesn't love doing interviews because she sees everything in black and white, and she feels like there's this kind of gotcha mentality. The other reason, apparently,
the thing is, if there's a gotcha mentality, how are you getting clowned so hard by people who are C-tier journalists? with fourth-rate questions. Like, imagine getting clowned by this lot. That'd be embarrassing.
Hates doing morning rounds is because she's really, really, really not a morning person. And apparently she says that she doesn't feel like her brain sort of switches on until midday.
I'm warming to her.
Which
I mean, that's pretty dumb. I mean, that's, you know, if your brain doesn't switch on to midday, then maybe you should make some changes in your life. Like, how are you holding a 9 to 5 job if your brain's only working for half a day? It doesn't make any sense, honestly. I think she's saying that just to avoid more interviews.
It's not a great sign for someone who wants to be a Conservative Party leader.
We've heard this from a few others. This thing, because there is this sort of narrative, and I know that her campaign pushes back on this very hard. This suggestion that she maybe doesn't put the work in. Do you think that's connected to that? This idea of her not wanting to do morning.
Well, I mean, her team do push back on that very, very strongly. But the problem is there is this narrative around Tory MPs that she is lazy. And I think part of that is probably, you know, in juxtaposition to Robert Jenrick, who's getting 3-4 hours sleep. Yeah, who's just constantly out there doing media rounds.
Yeah, because he had to, because he was down in the polls.
And I wonder whether that is part of it. But also, you know, she really isn't a morning person. Just on that as well, I'm told that apparently this is a story that very much shows who she is. She has to wake up in the morning. She really needs a really, really, really sugary tea. Like, you don't understand how much sugar there is. And if
What the fuck kind of journalism is this? Why are they not asking serious questions? Like her beliefs on certain things? Why use? Oh, she hates the morning so much. She has to have a really sugary tea that would really make a diabetic person blush. Like, what is this?
Someone else makes her the sugary tea and puts like 5-6 spoonfuls of sugar. She'll take a sip and be like, "This isn't right. I need more sugar than this." But if she's put in the exact same amount of sugar, then it's fine. But she's quite weird about her sugary tea in the morning that she needs because her brain doesn't switch on until midday. Which, to be
they want her to be PM.
fair, it is really hard waking up in the morning and having to do media.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be Conservative Party leader.
So what? Wait, is it hard to, bro? Like, people who do the morning shows have to be up at like 4 a.m. or something like that. You know, like, they have to be up even earlier. This is crazy. You know, like the level of just I asked the team this and this. I said, like, there's no pushback. This is insanity. Like, this isn't journalism. This is just gossip. This is just gossip. Honestly, this is like, can we get the serious journalists on this show? Yeah, and then we go LBC just hiring the fraud squad. They got this geezer
out. The first black this, the first woman this, the first Asian this. The Tory party has beaten you on every metric when it comes to diversity. Now, just let that sink in for a second.
They've been in charge for the last 14 years, obviously. No one really cared about diversity during the 2000s. And who cares? What did they do for those communities? How has diversity helped those people, policy-wise specifically? The Tories have maligned people from other countries, absolutely battered them in the media, talking about go home vans and stuff. What have they exactly done for people from those communities? Austerity really impacted women very badly. We had a female prime minister. How did that help women? Did you think there's really there's like a meme about it? Do you think it was girl power? And let me see if I can find it. There's literally a meme about this. No, it's a clip. It's a video. Can we get audio? Where's the audio?
Power?
Yes.
Here, look. I don't want to. It's on Facebook.
Do you think Margaret Thatcher had girl power?
Yes, of course.
Do you think she effectively utilized girl power by funneling money to illegal paramilitary death squads in Northern Ireland?
I don't know about that.
This is what I'm saying. Like, they don't. What have they done for women beyond saying, "Oh, we can break the glass ceiling if you follow these awful policies"? You should do something else. Like, what? Like, this is honestly the dumbest analysis I've ever seen. What did Rishi Sunak do apart from, what did he do for people from those communities? Leveling up. Jesus Christ. The first Asian prime minister. Okay, so what? Yeah, it shows kids that, if you're Asian, you can make it in certain positions in politics. It's fine. What's he done for those communities, though? You know, the first black foreign secretary. Okay, what's he like? I don't get it. You know, Labour have had the first female chancellor. You know, how much has this budget impacted women specifically?
Racist Tory party has had 3 female.
Oh God, sorry guys, I muted the wrong thing. Apologies for that. I was meant to mute my mic, but I muted the sound instead. Sorry.
Still counting it, all right, for this purpose. 3 female prime ministers. The first Jewish prime minister. Okay, he converted, but he was.
Who is the first Jewish prime minister?
Disraeli. You've had the first black foreign secretary, James Cleverly.
Okay.
You've had, I can't count how many Asian chancellors. You've had
2 is the answer. You had Sajid Javid, and you had Rishi Sunak. That's 2. You know, if you can't count to 2, that's fair enough. But I'm counting 2.
Rishi Sunak, the first Asian Hindu prime minister of this country. And you now have the first black woman of Nigerian descent running the so-called racist Tory party. Now, you just tell me.
I mean, they can still be racist. I mean, are you saying when Rishi Sunak, the moment Rishi Sunak was elected as head of the the Tory party, did that get rid of racism within the Tory party? No. This is the most surface level, stupid level analysis I've ever seen in my life. You know, oh yeah, the Tory party wouldn't pollute the waterways. What, you think they don't drink the water? You think they don't use the water? That'd be stupid. You know, the Tory party can't be racist. They've got they've got a black person in charge of their party. They had an Asian person in charge of their party. Yes, they can still be racist. The membership can still be racist. The party can still hold racist views. You just cloak them better. Disraeli, yeah, I'm not familiar with him.
You just tell me. I mean, that is really interesting, right? Now, I know it's difficult for the socialists to swallow this, and they'll all say,
"What the fuck, the socialists?"
Well, she's an Uncle Tom and she's a coconut, and every black or brown person in the entire.
I mean, is anyone saying that about her? I don't think I've not seen anyone call her a coconut.
Nation must have a singular view on everything to do with black or brown people.
No one is saying this.
Which I think is completely racist in itself, by the way.
You've literally constructed a straw man, and you've built this whole narrative around this.
But just ponder on this. On every single metric of diversity, you've been found wanting.
That's not like, honestly, like, what do you think? We just want a load of minority people in charge of the party? No, in charge of the country? No, like, our policies that will generally help people, you know, disadvantaged people, let them be from a minority background or not. You know, that's the thing I care about. Like, when you've got policies designed specifically to hit people that are disabled, specifically designed to hit the poor, that's the shit I'm obsessed with. Not diversity. I don't care. Like, you know, Rishi Sunak could be called Richard Stephen. I'd still call him a prick. I'd still criticise him loads. Do you think, oh no, we can't criticise him, he's Asian or whatever? No, get lost. Absolutely, get lost. This guy's an absolute mug. Honestly, like, you know, like, I don't even know. I don't even know. Like, should we get rid of all of the? You know, it doesn't make anything better just having a more diverse cast of people. It really doesn't. He's just, this is moronic. What helps people is policy. That's the important thing. What are you going to do for communities that are disadvantaged? That's the real question. No, don't care about diversity, not that much. Crazy behaviour. Is it maybe a bad notch?
Prime Minister. So what I want to do is...
Disraeli was PM in the late 19th century. Okay.
Make the country more conservative. And by that I mean, you know, policies that will help deliver better growth, just a better life for everyone. And I think having a conservative government is the best way to do that.
I mean, no, it's not, because you've got lower GDP growth year on year than the last Labour government, so that's not true.
And I think that right now, I have the best agenda to lead my party and to get us there.
But do you want to be Prime Minister? I mean, honestly, if you ask most MPs, they would all be like, yes, absolutely. Do you want to be Prime Minister?
Well, I don't think it's about wanting to be Prime Minister. I think it's not an award. It's not like winning a competition.
I mean, it's literally winning a competition. You are competing with other political parties for the top role, to be the government. So it literally is a competition.
Actually, a very serious job that requires a lot of sacrifice. It changes your life forever. You can't just go back and work in a normal job afterwards. It changes the life.
I mean, being an MP, being a minister, I don't know how many of them gone back to just doing normal jobs.
Of your family. So I'm very, very wary of saying, "Oh, I want to be prime."
You get 150k per year as well.
Minister, I want to be in charge. I think that people need to understand what is the service that you're providing, rather than how can we help you fulfil a personal ambition. For me, the ambition is.
I think it might be fake. I'm not sure.
About the country, not myself.
Are you worried about some of these potential sacrifices, though?
Well, I've thought about them very carefully, and also with my family as well. So I am very well aware of how life could change for the worse in many circumstances. But I also worry even more about the direction of the country and what will happen unless we can turn things around.
So you think your personal life could change for the worse then if you are Prime Minister?
I think that if you look at the previous Prime Ministers, Margaret Thatcher, Tony Blair, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, whoever, there's actually...
Isn't it whomever?
Actually quite a lot of animosity towards politicians and prime ministers. People blame them for things that have gone wrong, even when it's not necessarily anything to do with them. And I think that you harbour that, you have to carry the weight of things happening on your watch.
But you ran to be leader of the Tory party. The whole point of the Tory party is to be in charge of the UK, yeah? So if you don't want to be prime minister, if you think it's such a heavy burden, if you think heavy is the king's crown, or I guess the queen's crown in this case, right? Then you shouldn't be in charge of the party. Like, it doesn't make sense.
A lot of responsibility, and I think people should not go into it thinking it's going to be a lark or a game. It's a very serious thing. But right now, what I'm campaigning for is to be leader of my party and be leader of the opposition. That is what the public has said Conservatives should do right now.
Just a really bizarre interview. Like, you can see why she doesn't do a lot of these. And this is at night time as well. You'd think her brain will be more switched on at night time. Unless this is very early morning. Why does she use her real name? What's her real name? Okay. And, she's not... This is not going to be easy street for her.
Position is a massive job, not just to hold the government to account, but there is obviously opportunity. But when you set it in the context of the mountain to climb, that was actually Robert Jenrick's words, I think, last week, and what Keir Starmer talked about when he became leader of the opposition for the Labour Party. Labour have the second largest Labour majority ever. The Tories lost 200...
The second largest Labour majority ever? Have they ever had a bigger one than this?
51 seats in the last general election, going from 365 to just 121. It was their worst performance at the polls since the mid-19th century for nearly 200 years. So the scale of the defeat is enormous.
But also it means whatever growth she gets, or if she does make it that far, will look gigantic as well.
And so this is going to be a really, really hard job for either Kemi Badenoch or Robert Jenrick. It's a depleted party, and it's not just that, Sophie. Look at Reform picking up 4 million votes, beating the Tories in so many seats where the Conservative vote split and Labour went through the middle.
There's going to be a big problem with the Tories, where the Lib Dems are going to attack them from one side and Reform are going to attack them from the other. They won't be right-wing enough for Reform voters, and they won't be kind of centre-right enough for Lib Dems.
And then on the other side of it, look at Ed Davey and the Lib Dems.
Olakumi Olifunto. Is that her real name?
3.5 million votes, taking 72 seats. It's a
Where'd she
party
get Kemi
being
from?
Squeezed by both sides. But, as you referred to in the introduction there is some hope. There was a poll out last night, one poll, but it put the Tories in lead of Labour by just 1 percentage point, or 29%.
That's well within margin of error, that is.
Of the vote share versus 28% for Labour. But it's the first time in 3 years that the Conservatives have edged ahead of the Labour Party. So there is something there in this budget that has been ill-received, and a Labour Party that won a massive majority but on a vote share that was around the level of 2019 when they lost...
It was actually less. Their vote share was lower, I think.
...the general election. So there's lots to go for. I think the big question in the Conservative Party is whether ultimately either of these two leaders have got what it takes. And there is an active discussion already amongst Conservative MPs and supporters about whether Kemi Badenoch or Rob Jenrick actually lead the party into the next election, or they need to change leader again.
I did notice James Cleverly saying he wasn't going to serve on either of their front benches. That, to me, was straight away, I was like, oh, that's a guy with an eye on the next contest.
Yeah,
right?
He said he's going to go to the back benches. I mean, Ruth Davidson, who backed James Cleverly in the leadership race, she told us on our Electoral Dysfunction podcast this week, she said she really found the choice difficult. She voted for Rob Jenrick, but she did...
You voted for the worst candidate. Okay.
So, because she doesn't think that he's necessarily going to lead whoever wins.
Yeah, no, Ruth Davidson proving she's still got bad decision-making.
I think he did a fantastic job. He worked for months now. He's been racing around the country, speaking to members, media, really holding...
Yeah, the audio on this is awful. We'll cut this. This is a funny one. Robert Jenrick's wife thought she was done applauding. All right, then. We'll keep doing it. We already covered this one. It's good to know we've got this idiot. There's a lot of Ali Mirage, to be fair. It's kind of painful. Right. What have we got last two? Okay, we've got two more. This is about the Channel 4... Go away. Sorry, it's my phone. We've got the Channel 4 video on the royal family.
Family, it's taxpayers' money. Your money, it's my money. It's the viewers' money.
Thousands of documents obtained by dispatches in a...
Please say this is copyright-free music.
...joint investigation with the Sunday Times.
It's interesting. The Sunday Times is... obviously, I think a right-leaning paper, centre-right-leaning paper, but it's interesting they actually do really good investigative work.
Reveal how hard up government departments, schools, and even the NHS are helping to keep the cash rolling in for Charles and William.
This is precisely the sort of transparency that one would want. I think there's a public right to know how much it's costing.
Yeah, I agree.
The King and Prince William also have private sources of wealth, including two extensive land estates. The Duchies of Lancaster and Cornwall make Charles and William £50 million a year. Charles and William's private estates both claim they are not funded by the taxpayer. But our research reveals that the Duchy of Cornwall has charged the Navy over £1 million since 2004 to allow it to build and use jetties and to moor warships.
Yeah, these are the kinds of people we should be. They should abolish this. Like the fact that the taxpayer is paying for this. It's just assets. That's all it is. They just make money from assets. No work.
Dartmoor Prison, owned by the Duchy of Cornwall, the Prince of Wales' private estate. But despite the fact it doesn't house a single prisoner, our research reveals the latest lease is worth £1.5 million a year to the Duchy. That's £37.5 million over 25 years.
They are a very shrewd and very commercial landlord. They're not looking to give away money. They are a business. They're there to try and make a profit. They don't do it for, just for love.
Just down the road, we found the state school in Princetown is paying thousands of pounds in rent every year. And we found at least 6 other state schools that make payments...
He owns what? He owns Carrick Fergus.
...to the Prince of Wales' private estate, worth nearly £600,000 over the lifetime of the leases. King Charles' private estate, the Duchy of Lancaster, announced it was delighted to be able to help and support Guy's and St Thomas's NHS Foundation Trust in London to find a home for its new ambulance fleet. What it didn't make clear was that the deal was worth £11.4 million over 15 years.
Why are there not peppercorn rents or social rents being charged for the NHS, for example?
The Duchies consider themselves to be private estates, not businesses, and are exempt from paying any corporation tax.
What should happen?
So surely everyone should just class themselves as that? Just private estates?
To give their profits to the Exchequer, and then some of that comes back to us, the taxpayer.
Nah, to get rid of it, bin it.
I'd love King Charles to volunteer that he would
abdicate,
open up the affairs of all these organisations to much greater public scrutiny at a time when people are feeling poor.
Yeah, I don't. It operates as so the Duchy of Lancaster says it operates as a commercial company managing a broad range of land and property assets across England and Wales. Complies with all relevant UK legislation. While His Majesty takes a close interest in the work of the Duchy, the day-to-day management of the portfolio, and they should be paying tax. Otherwise, we could all say that we're all private estates or whatever, so we'd have to pay tax. Also working with the Daily Mirror, so you can tell this is a big operation that these guys have got here. And I'll show you the funniest clip that I've seen this week. Just privatise the royal family, i.e. to the highest... Honestly. No, not the highest bidder, the lowest bidder.
Halloween has only ever really been a nuisance for me, and I've got to tell you why, Ian, because it starts off really with that special aisle in the supermarket, and then it's just becoming... It's just an infection now. You go down every single aisle that isn't Halloween-related, and there's spooky Wales this and scarily delicious cakes that, and it's just ridiculous.
This is the dumbest call. Imagine calling in, right? You called into a national radio station to complain about Halloween-based desserts.
Quite frankly, if I want to eat a Viennese well, or if I want to eat a slice of carrot cake, I don't want to eat it with a spider on the top.
Just take the spider off, you dumbass.
It's just really weird, and I'm totally with you and Rose and the guest at the very beginning.
This is honestly, I get some radio shows have like a fun hour or whatever, but this is the dumbest complaint I've heard in my life. This honestly, every week, right, we see the highest levels of stupidity, be it the iceberg seal story, or be it this geezer complaining about a spider, a dessert spider on his biscuit. Goes into the supermarket, complains about Halloween cakes, and not that the cakes are twice as expensive as last year. Also, the fact that they have other alternatives. You don't have to buy the Halloween stuff. I love a Viennese well as much as the next guy, but if you enjoy that stuff so much, a spider ain't gonna stop you, pal. I'm baffled. We're gonna call it a day here, guys. We've been going for about an hour and a bit. An hour and some change. I need you guys to tomorrow a Sunday roast episode with good guest. Name slips my mind because I'm really bad at that. Michael Lambert. We got Michael Lambert on the roast tomorrow, and Liz Webster, and obviously Political X, and obviously me, your boy. So yeah, I think it was a good episode. So if you guys could watch that'd be good. Halloween is an Irish feet fest. It's nothing to do with all the crap you see. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, we've got Lambert, we've got Political X, we've got Liz Webster, and we've got me. So there's you got a good cast there, I'd say. Yeah, the first time actually talking to Michael Lambert, so that's quite interesting. Seems like a stand-up guy. So if you guys could watch that tomorrow, that'd be great. Or at some point during the next week, that'd be great. I'd really appreciate that. There's not much more for me to discuss. So yeah, I'm going to go jump on Dragon Ball Sparking and go beat my cousin up on the game. And so yeah, I'll catch you guys. Kamala or Trump? I'm predicting Donald Trump to win. But I'd rather see Kamala Harris win. So read into that what you will. I don't like either of them, to be honest with you, but that's the nature of first past the post. You get two washed candidates and you're stuck with one. So that's it pretty much. If Donald Trump wins, you know what? Yeah, I'll show you my my favorite Trump meme just because This one made me laugh so much. See if I can find it. Yeah, this is the one. This is my favourite Donald Trump meme all time. I hope I don't get copyrighted because the music in it, but it's so funny.
Have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas.
Obviously, Ukrainian gas exec, Joe Biden and Hunter Biden. So obviously, there's some sort of conversation happening here. So this is my, the fact that it's Donald Trump who posted it as well is crazy. He got DMCA'd he got DMCA'd, so he had to take it down. But yeah, this right here is probably one of the funniest meme formats that really should have got more use. But yeah, no, we're gonna call it a day, guys. And I'll catch you lot tomorrow, obviously on the roast. Of course, you know you're all gonna be there. Definitely, especially because I'm there. See you tomorrow, and then I'll catch you guys next week. Remember, guys,
officially have austerity in 2020, but when Sunak became Chancellor, we were about to if it weren't for COVID. He had told government departments to prepare for cuts to their department. That's austerity.
remember, guys, budget cuts. That's austerity. And I'll catch you lot next week.